and you're watching my journal. Come on in, kings and queens, for this conversation. Welcome again to the journal, to my journal. I'm Steffanie Rivers, and you're watching my TriCast. I'm TriCasting on YouTube Live and or YouTube, Facebook Live, and LinkedIn. So if you're new to the conversation, we want to welcome you. And if you are returning to the conversation, we want to welcome you back. We hope you had a great week and you're looking for a great week ahead. I have some information I want to share with you. In case you are not into sports and you missed what's going on at the University of Texas in Austin, some of the wealthy donors who are alumni and just donors, friends of University of Texas, Austin, they're proving themselves to be bullies. They have threatened to cancel their monetary donations. Some of them have threatened to block graduating students or students at UT Austin who are looking for jobs. They've threatened to block them from employment. Now, imagine that you are in college and you're studying, you're in your career field, and you might be getting ready for an internship, or you might be getting ready to graduate. And the very people who you think will help you because of your UT Austin affiliation, they have threatened to block your path. Well, that's happening to some students at UT Austin. These threats are over the school song of all things, the school song. Now, whether it's a question of whether it will be replaced or whether it will stay as is. Now, some of the current students have signed petitions to get the current song replaced. And some of the students who are student athletes have refused to make appearances at donor events. They've refused to stay on the field while the song is being played. And some of the Longhorn band members have protested by refusing to play the song. Now, most of the alumni who have been voicing their opinion, they are in support of the song. Well, what's wrong with the song, you might ask? So, in case you don't know, it's called The Eyes of Texas, and it's played to the tune of I've been working on the railroad all the live long day. So it goes like the eyes of Texas are upon you. Now, apparently, the some of the students and I'm sure other people, but let's just stick with the current student population. They don't like the song for its lyrics, for they said that it's in the 148-year history of the school. That song has been played in minstrel shows, so white people in blackface. And so you might ask yourself, well, why, if it's been played for 148 years, why now are students having a problem with it? And in one name, George Floyd. Now, it was almost a year ago that George Floyd's modern day lynching was recorded, and millions of people looked at that video, and it sparked Black Lives Matters protests and anti-police brutality protests around the world, and in city streets as well as on college campuses. And UT Austin is one of those campuses where students started to protest, and they decided that this song was anti-Black, anti-American, and that is where the issue is coming from. Now, before I go on a side note, former cop Derek Chauvin is and his go along to get along crew of police officers who are charged with George Floyd's murder. They're due to go on trial in Minneapolis in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that. But back to the story. And if you're just joining us, we're talking about the UT Austin alumni and donors who are proving themselves to be bullies, basically. Um, they are threatening to take away their monetary donations and threatening the students, saying they're going to get them in a position where they can't get a job after graduation or in the midst of in between when they're trying to get scholarships, when they're trying to get internships, they're going to block them, all because of this song. Now, in addition to the petition, like I said, UT Austin student athletes, they stopped making appearances at donor events. The band stopped playing it at the games because apparently it's a post-game tradition to play the song, and apparently students, athletes, are supposed to stand there and everybody stands up together and sings it or something. I don't know. I'm not into UT Austin sports. But at any rate, that's what I've been told. But so now in protest, not only are the student athletes not going to the donor events, they quit standing still on the field for the playing of the song. They walk off, some of them walk off in the middle, or when the song starts to play, the band, the Longhorn band, is supposed to play it, but now some of them have protested by refusing to play the song, and now the school has been playing a recording of the song just so they can get around that the team is walking off and the band is not playing it. So that's when Jay Hartzell, he's the president of University of Texas, Austin. Jay Hartzell has started to get emails and letters from wealthy donors, wealthy alumni, and it's ranging in the hundreds. He's getting hundreds, according to an Austin newspaper. He's getting hundreds of letters. So I'm going to put in the link so that you can see for yourself these hundreds of letters. And while I'm doing this, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel so the next time that I post videos, which normally is on Sunday evenings, you'll be the first to know. All right, so you can go and see the letters for yourself. So some of those letters are from, like I said, wealthy people. And most of the names on the letters have been what they call redacted. They give you a copy if you do a Freedom of Information Act request for things, or if you request written documents from people. They might give you the documents, but they scratch out stuff they really don't want you to know because they consider that to be an invasion of privacy, maybe, or a top secret, maybe. It just depends on what it is. So in this instance, they've scratched out the names. They've redacted the names of many of the people, the authors of the letters and the emails. But one of the emails or letters came from billionaire alumnus. His name is Bob Rowling. And Bob Rowling is his holding company, actually owns Omni Hotels, and he used to own a bunch of Gold's Gyms across Texas, but past this past summer, last year, during the pandemic, when everybody had to be quarantined and nobody could go to the gym or church or any of the, any of those places. The Gold's gyms, all but a few, closed down. So Bob Rolling's holding company sold those, closed them down. So he also, in addition to owning Omni Hotels and forming Gold's Gyms across Texas, there's a building named after Bob Rolling in the School of Business. So he's supposedly a billionaire. And in Rolling's passive aggressive letter, that's what I'm calling it, it was passive aggressive. He said, although he was not trying to tell the president how to do his job, the letter said that Rolling was for keeping the song like it is. And then Rolling included in the letter, and I quote, he said that he was including the email in the email chain. He was including, quote, love people who love UT and are in positions of influence. So he started out saying, you know what? I'm not trying to tell you what to do, the passive part, but I'm for it. And I've emailed the chain, this email, to a bunch of people who also love UT and have influence. So basically, you telling me if I don't do what you tell me to do, then everybody's going to know it and they have influence and they can do something about it. Now, that's a bully tactic if I've ever seen one. So that's what Bob Rolling, Omni Hotel owner, said. Now, there were several of the letters also said things like, and quoting the newspaper, and I put the link in the chat so you can look it up. It said, if Blacks are unhappy, they should either change schools or leave Texas, unquote. If Blacks are unhappy, they should either change schools or leave Texas. And then other letters said it should be mandatory for students to actually have to stand there and stand in place while the fight song is played, as if it's the Pledge of Allegiance. And so essentially they are, when you choose to stand or sit or you choose to kneel, as we've learned in the past few years in protest for a social issue, that is your right, your freedom of speech. So these donors are in essence trying to curtail somebody's freedom of speech, essentially. Now, although there was one more letter I want to go over before I get to my what I think is really going on. Although this guy, it did not say that he would not ever give a donation again if they didn't do what he wanted. His name is Larry Wilkinson. He's a 1970 grad of UT Austin. And he said, since African Americans are only 6% of the student body population, that the tail cannot be allowed to wag the dog. And he too said that Black students should, if they're not happy, they should leave. So first of all, to Larry Wilkinson and people who think or assume, as Larry Wilkinson is, first of all, it's not just an African American thing. It's not just Black students who are against the song. There are some white students who are against the song, men and women. There are some white athletes, student athletes against the song. They're men and women. There are non-Black people of color who are against the song. So it's not just a Black thing, people like Larry Wilkinson. It's that's a bad assumption to make. It's more along the lines of a human rights issue instead of a Black issue. Now, however you might feel about the song, using your money and influence to coerce or to try to manipulate somebody to do what you want them to do is at best paternalistic, and at worst, that's just being a bully. It's kind of like, and we've all experienced it, and maybe if you're a parent, you probably have done this to your kids. If you give them a car, if you pay for something for them, give them money, if you're financially supporting them, or you give them some type of privilege, and then they don't do exactly as you want, if they just have their own independent thought, then you threaten to take away that car, or you threaten to take away the financial support or the privilege. So that in itself is, these donors are in essence saying they are under the false assumption, presumption, that their money meant that they get to dictate policy, and that is not the case. In the words of Maury Povich, you are not the father. Okay, you can't tell people what to do because you gave them some money. Now, sure, you might be in a position to share your opinion, but in the end, it's your right, of course, to give money to who you want. It's your right to withhold money from who you want. But these are grown people, and it's their right to be against the song or for the song. So for you to try to make it as if it's all about you because you gave them some money, then I think that's a misunderstanding of the relationship that comes with being an alumni or a donor. So hopefully, Larry J. Hartzell, the president of University of Texas Austin, and hopefully the Black students and the just current student population will not allow themselves to be bullied like that. And so another thing that I do agree with Larry Wilkinson on, if mostly the Black students don't like the situation that they're in at UT Austin, they can vote with their feet and they can leave. They can take their talents to where they are appreciated and celebrated. See, this is another reason why, another example of why Black student athletes and smart Black kids need to recognize that most, not all, but most of the wealthy white people in most of these big white schools, they really don't care for you or your well-being. The only thing they care about is if they can monetize you and get paid off of you. It has nothing to do with your benefit, it has everything to do with their benefit. So most of them, not all, but most of them don't care whether you get a degree. They don't care about your freedom of speech. They don't care about your humanity. It's all about how many points can you score for them so they can get paid off of you. How can you make them look good? Basically, shut up and play, shut up and pass the ball, and shut up and catch the ball, shut up and dribble. We've heard that before. So that's really what this is all about. They have zero concern to give about your freedom of speech, and about your questioning their tradition and their fight song. They don't care. So stop begging people who don't care about you to respect you, especially when you are the reason that they're getting so much money. They're not, you're not there because you're not valuable. You're there because they saw the value in you and they wanted to exploit it, basically. So now I'm not saying that, you want to make sure that you're getting out of it, even though they don't see the value in you except for where it benefits them. You always want to look at a situation, especially when it comes to colleges and scholarships and the like. You want to make sure you're getting something, the most out of that situation. And in times like these, it lets you realize, Black students, whether you are a scholar or a standout athlete, you need to put yourself in a position where your talents and skills can be best used to help you, your family, and your community in the long run. And not just that you are able to, score today and after graduation, they don't care nothing about you. Even if you don't graduate, as long as you won them that championship. So that's what it's about. The value of that scholarship that they gave you to play or to go to class and to go to medical school or go to get the STEM degree, the value, you already gave it back to them millions of dollars over by, again, these donations coming in, because people see that you're creating a winning tradition, and they're taking advantage of that. So these are examples of adult bullies who are using their money to bully you and college administrators. And hopefully you don't put up with it. Hopefully you vote with your feet and find yourself an HBCU, a historically Black college or university, who will care about you and your community, because we are you and we are your community. So my hope is that this whole fur over this song, and the display of disrespect towards humanity, the humanity of non-white people, will lead some of the current Black students and the Black athletes to consider HBCUs. So whether you're an athlete or you're in the STEM program or you are studying to be a doctor, we have medical schools at Black colleges and universities. We got STEM programs at Black colleges and universities, and we have sports at Black colleges and universities. We are conditioned as African Americans to think that opportunity only meets preparation at a big white school, but that is not true. It is totally false. Recently, I did a video and it was called the Deion Sanders Effect. And I'm going to put the link in here so you can go back and look at that. But essentially, I was saying how Deion Sanders choosing to go to Jackson State University as the head coach, it allowed him, because of his notoriety, he's a Hall of Fame cornerback, and has his kids are, top tier athletes, and he knows top tier people, and he's won Super Bowls, and he's gone to the what's that? He's a Hall of Famer, of course, but a Pro Bowler. He's done all that any one individual pro athlete can do. So he knows how to win. And so with him signing on as the head coach at Jackson State University, he was able to get some of the top tier Black football players, high schoolers who had previously committed to top tier white schools. Excuse me. He had got them to recommit to Jackson State University. And so if we can get other notable Black college Black athletes, pro athletes, to commit to coaching at HBCUs and draw some of these top tier Black college students who go to these white universities where they just use you up and then spit you out and don't really care whether you they care long enough that you keep up your GPA for you to be eligible to play. But after that, they could care less than, they can give less than a damn about you. If we can get some of these former pro athletes to go and coach at these Black colleges and universities and usurp these recruits, we would change the game on the field and financially, because now all the attention would go to Black colleges and universities. And so that's what we need to do, because you have talent. You are the show. They come to see you play. So wherever you are playing, that's where the show is. It's not, let me go to UT Austin because I'm going to get to play and I'll be at the show. No, the show is wherever you are. So it's the sooner you recognize that, the better off you will be and our community will be. And I'm closing up, but I in that video, but I put the link in there, I talked about how in 2019, the two colleges that went to the national championship football team, I think it was LSU, Louisiana State University, and USC, University of South Carolina, because it's 15 players on the team at once, the starters. Of the 30 players on both teams, about 20 of them were black at that time. So, y'all, we are the show. They come to see us. So, vote with your feet. Let them keep that song on over there. They can go on over there and play the song and lose and fight with a losing song. Okay. And you go on to where people love and care for you and your community. And whatever they decide about the song, see, you can't legislate people's hearts. You can't change people's hearts and change people's minds based off of making rules and regulations. That just has to happen with time and commitment to the people around you. And it's clear that they care more about a song and less about the humanity of what the song means than and that's what's important. So that's what I think we should do with these issues like this. It just is another example of what African Americans need to do to get the recognition that they deserve. We need to pool our efforts and keep it in the house, keep it at home. And so that's it. If you want to know more about the things that I care about, you can go to the written version of my journal. I'm going to put it down here. And you've been watching my TriCast on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook Live. So if you want to like, share, and subscribe, please do so. So the next time that I post videos, mostly on Sunday evenings, you'll be the first to know. And that's it. So have a super day, and we'll see you next time.